welcome to Community Cooking with Cardinal's High School Cafe. Today we are very blessed to have Mary Ellen Gucciardi return from Dufferin-Peel Catholic District School Board.
Hello.
And we also have with us James Flaherty and Johnny Issaluk. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but we can give you a chance to correct me. How about that? That might work. And I'm really glad today because we're getting a chance to explore a topic that I think is really up and coming in Ontario right now. I don't want to even use those terms to make it seem flippant, but it's really important that we start to, with trust and reconciliation, build that trust and reconciliation. And so one of the things that we're doing is, or what the school board's doing, I'm not going to say we. Mary Ellen, why don't you tell us from the beginning, what are we discussing today and how is that project important?
Okay, so specifically today we're discussing a project that we created, and James and Johnny are both part of that team, and it's an ebook. It's called Yokosuka, Sharing Experiences of Nunavut. It is kind of a combination or compilation of our experiences in the North. We've had teacher excursions and student excursions over the course of about 5 years. And we've taken all that knowledge that was shared with us by Inuit and we've compiled it into this ebook platform, and it's an interactive platform. And the goal of it is so that other educators and students can come along the journey with us and we can share that knowledge throughout our system.
Wow, and so tell me a little bit about where this idea came from and how we sort of decided to do the ebook. And
well, that was a project that came up because we had so much material we had collected when we were on these trips with students and staff up to the Arctic. I'm a filmmaker as well, so I was shooting lots of footage when we were up there, and it's sort of a distillation of all the material we collected. So like Mary Ellen mentioned, it's sort of an attempt to bring the Arctic to the students because it's a lot tougher to bring the students up to the Arctic.
It is a lot tougher, but you have done it. So it is something that's absolutely fascinating. Do you mind if I ask, where exactly have you been?
Personally, I've been to Iqaluit a number of times. That's the capital of Nunavut, and that's sort of the main hub where everyone lands. I was very fortunate a little over a year ago to take some students on an incredible excursion called Students on Ice. And we went through the west coast of Greenland on a ship, and we crossed the Davis Strait, and we went through the Northwest Passage in the higher Arctic. Yeah, so that was unbelievable.
That's phenomenal. Wow. And how about yourself?
Similarly, I've been fortunate to go on Students on Ice as a staff advisor, and I was up the west coast of Greenland, but I was in northern Labrador in the Torngat Mountains and in Kuujjuaq, so it was a very different experience, but equally beautiful. But in Nunavut, I have, with student groups and teacher groups, been to Iqaluit, Pangnirtung, and Kimmirut. And Pang and Kimmirut are smaller communities, so it gives you a really different perspective of the North. So we've been very fortunate. It's very costly to travel to Nunavut. It's cost prohibitive to take large groups. However, we've been in Dufferin-Peel quite committed to this learning and have taken over 50 students and teachers to the Arctic.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I would really welcome your perspective and where has your role been in this whole project?
So I'm from the Arctic. I live in Iqaluit and have lived there for the last 12 years. So I grew up very traditionally, and so their experience up there is, you know, what I know how to teach. And so I was just there as a guide and kind of a, I guess, mentor for their learning projects. But over time, I've become very good friends with all the people that have come up. And I was very fortunate to be able to do all the things we do together. And when they pitched the idea of the ebook, I was like, that's excellent. That's a great idea because it imprints what we do in the Arctic, and it will be seen for years to come, and that's very exciting.
That sounds really fascinating. So in terms of your role of educator, I guess, what kind of activities did you partake in? Like what would be expected if I went there and we sort of, you guys, what kind of activities did you guys do together?
So first and foremost, like we'll go visit houses where friends that will teach us about cooking different types of food. Like I love cooking, but I like varying the different cooks and different friends that have different style of cooking. But also I would take them out land with friends and teach them about hunting, shooting, how to prepare food in igloo building, you know, just even just understanding the snow conditions, snow types, and how the ice is, how safe the ice is, and, you know, like just hands-on experience about how we live up there.
That's amazing.
So
We tried to
sometimes-
translate that into the
Yeah.
experience of the book, and the fact that as a medium it's hands-on, we're hoping that it'll have something of interest to kids right from kindergarten all the way to grade 12.
Absolutely.
And hopefully beyond, and their teachers as well, because really nobody knows very much about the Arctic. When I started on this journey, I had no idea about pretty much everything. I was amazed how much is there and how important it is for the future of our country, and how many entry points there are for students to learn in a broader way. So it was really fantastic, and hopefully we're capturing a bit of that, the breadth of that experience with the book. So we're excited to get it out.
And by no means is this a book about Inuit culture. It's a book about Inuit culture based on our experiences and what has been given to us in terms of knowledge. And you said, you know, what can you find? In the book, there's an entire page or 2 pages on igloos, and what igloos mean historically for Inuit and what they are in a modern context as well. There's interactive pieces on those 2 pages. You'll see most of the photography and video footage is from us, from these trips, whether it's photography from teachers or footage from James. Very little was not original to us. So really it's experiences that we actually had throughout these journeys. The whole point of that is to bring that definitely to Dufferin-Peel, but on a broader scope, you know, to share it, possibly even have it translated into Inuktitut so people in Nunavut can share in the experience.
Wow,
So
yeah.
that's one of our
absolutely.
goals.
Yeah, and I'm hearing too what I really like about sort of this whole idea. One of the things I've kind of been exploring this season of the show is being able to acknowledge Indigenous sustainable practice as a method that would really has been working for thousands and thousands of years, and sort of we've you know, in the current system fallen away from those practices. And I like the idea that you had said, you know, it's really important for students, even though they're not going up north, to understand that the practices that you have in terms of culinary, you mentioned cooking, hunting, the way that you, or I mean, I know that in Ontario, I can't really speak to the north, but I know that in Ontario it's really important that if we could get back to some of that local food growing, local food procurement, it really will help us in terms of sustainability. Are there practices there as well, when you were mentioning that might be something to sort of pass over in that vein?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so much happening in the Arctic around the environment, around exactly what you're saying. Eating locally, that's literally what people have, that's been the only option there, obviously. And what people, sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around as a culture. The Inuit people have basically had to hunt everything they eat. There's no agriculture per se up there. So when you really think in terms of, you're up there and you see how remote and how unforgiving that landscape is, it's like situations around eating locally and growing locally on steroids, if you will, up there. It's just, but even politically, the cost of food up there, it's so expensive, and it's prohibitive for people to be able to afford to hunt. And there's so many issues that spiral out from even starting with the food up there. It's an entry point to understand so many more issues around what's going on in the Arctic, and it's the future of our country, really.
And each trip that we've taken, or each learning excursion, has given opportunity to be on land. And when we say to go out land, it would be what we would consider going camping or going north, you know, for a hike or a weekend away. Inuit still practice this on a common, like every weekend basis when available to them. Because as James indicated, hunting is very costly. It's cost prohibitive even in community. But our students were given samples of country food, which means, you know, food that came off the land, that was hunted and harvested for their consumption. All of that is a very common practice, and we wanted to share that. There's no such thing as hunting for sport in Nunavut. It's really about subsistence hunting, and when you understand, as James alluded to as well, the cost of living in the north and the food insecurity issues, hunting is really a key factor in helping people to survive. Hunters within communities still very much commonly practice sharing of their catch. So I know Johnny will go out and he'll catch and he'll come back and share with some neighbors or elders or friends. He'll save some for himself, but it never ever is all just, you know, pack it away for myself. It's to share, and all parts of the animal would be used.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
another piece to
Yeah,
the
it's
sustainable
really important
practice.
to understand. Yes.
And did you have a time where students were engaged in that type of activities? Like what
Yeah.
kind of, like how did they respond to that?
They were all curious, like, like it's always nice to see kids and adults like that want to try something different. And at one point I caught a ptarmigan, and I just showed them the practice of thanks for the animal being gifted to us, and then I cut it up on the spot and shared it with them. And even one of the kids that don't eat meat or anything like that had
tasted
tried
it.
This is a movie in the
had
iBook.
tasted.
You'll see that. You'll see it in the
had
iBook.
tasted, yeah, had
It's
tasted
so
that.
fabulous to hear that type of idea that you shared at that moment on the spot, but also that you paused to give thanks, because I think that part of sustainability is really missing, and it is a key to sustainability. Gratitude and understanding where your food comes from and being able to sort of appreciate where it comes from, that sometimes we lose in a society where everything comes from the grocery store or the fast food place, right? So I love that idea that you had the time to sort of teach them that, and that's one of the things I've heard in Indigenous practices in Ontario, is that time to pause after you have made the catch, to give, to have a moment of reverence and give thanks, which is really nice. So you have to explain just a little bit. So what type of animal did you catch?
It was a ptarmigan,
Okay.
akig in my language, but it was a little white pheasant-like bird, and
Okay.
it was so it was eaten raw after I
That is,
Because
Cut
Inuit
it
would
up.
eat food raw, cooked, frozen,
Dried.
fermented,
yeah,
dried.
yeah.
aged,
Wow.
yeah.
And so you have the skill, if you think about like how few people actually have the skill to be able to get a ptarmigan, hunt a ptarmigan, and then be able to actually know what to do with it once
right.
you've hunted it. That is, for students to see that. But for that to take place in the book, I can see where the ripple effect of the education there is going to be invaluable.
And I have to tell you, I think the book is phenomenal. It's a beautifully done collection of learning, so to speak. And there were 6 of us on the team. There were 4 other educators from Dufferin-Peel who were part of the writing team. It is by no means a replacement of traveling to the Arctic. I passionately believe that being able to travel to the Arctic is a transformative experience, and a necessary one for young people. Less than 10% of Canadians ever travel to the Arctic, and less than 1% of youth. So I'm very proud that in Dufferin-Peel we have committed to allowing young people to experience that, because it will forever change their experience in Canada. And it is such a beautiful, majestic place in this country that I had very little knowledge of before traveling to. And today it's definitely captured my heart. So I really do believe that it's critical to continue this learning in the capacity that we can. It won't be in huge numbers, but it'll be in transformative numbers for sure.
The kids who go up there, they're hitting so many issues. These are future leaders. They're being incubated on these trips, and it's really amazing to see those light bulbs going off, and you can see it's going to have ripples down the road, which is fantastic.
And it's not just the students that go up there. What about the students that they encounter that are already there? I know we've
Absolutely.
had some exchanges in that respect.
Well, I can speak to that
yeah.
in the sense that every trip or every excursion we take, we always engage in community. And the goal is to have our young people share some of their knowledge and skills with young people in the north. Just a vehicle to connect. So for example, we'll go into an elementary school and do some soccer-based workshops. Or we did a lacrosse-based workshop and a dance workshop. It's just a vehicle to connect. And it allows us to really kind of establish a new relationship for young people with young people in the north. That has been extremely successful for us, absolutely. The book as well is an accompaniment to 2 of our documentaries that James produced for us. One is a teacher experience called On the Land, and the other is a student experience called Issaluk at Dawn. And they are both linked within the book, within the ebook.
Oh, wow. And do you have any, I guess I know they're in the books, but any feedback on student experience from both perspectives?
You're saying from the document in the
Yes, well, but even in the whole experience, what have you heard
yeah, we have
students
lots.
that are currently residing in the north and students that are currently residing here, like both sort of perspectives of the experience? How has it come to pass? Have you heard any feedback? Or
Yeah, like just talking to the students, like they came into where I live thinking like it's just going to be another place to go, and then at the end of it, they're talking about what they've learned, how appreciative of life even they were, and wanting to go up more to see more of what we have up there, because it's a beautiful part of the country. You know, like I'm very fortunate that I live up there, and even the students up there have occasionally, like the students we hang out with occasionally ask and talk about the students that came up, you know, like lifelong friends after that.
Yeah, and with the, you know, today's social media, that's what it can become, is a lifelong
Yeah.
friendship. And then these future leaders could lead together, which is, you know,
Yeah.
We've
it's
also had 2
amazing.
students return since they traveled with us, with
Wow.
Dufferin-Peel. Yeah, for work purposes after going to university, being a lifeguard in a northern community, or traveling to the north with scholarship, making a documentary film. So
Wow.
it is truly, when I say transformative, I mean that in the truest sense of the word.
Well, there you have it. There's the
absolutely.
proof is in the pudding
Yeah,
as you see
absolutely.
it. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, speaking of students, we have some in the back that are getting ready for their cook-off. I know I have 2 judges here that are going to judge these students' 8-minute cook-off. But before we go, we are going to quickly do our Mirepoix Moment. It's something where I sort of find out a little bit about each of you, and it's just a fun series of questions. So I'm going to get started here with you, Johnny. What is your favorite pantry item?
Polar bear meat.
Polar bear meat. Okay, I love it. And what about favorite restaurant?
Anything with meat, really. But
All right.
I love lobster too. So
Okay, perfect.
Red lobster.
Favorite grocery item?
Broccoli.
Perfect. Favorite splurge item? So if you're going to indulge, what do you indulge in?
Fermented waters.
Oh my gosh, I just love it. And so finally, if you could only choose one thing that you could have, one type of food that you had to have for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I could live with beluga. Well, blubber.
Wow, okay. Perfect. Awesome.
We're gonna
All
sound
right,
really
Miss-
boring
Yeah,
next.
I don't know if you want to hear ours.
Exactly. All right, Miss Gucciardi, you're never going to top that, so I
No.
should have gone this way.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so favorite pantry item?
I'll go with the staple would be tuna in mine.
Okay, perfect. Favorite restaurant?
Restaurant, I'll say a nice Mexican place called Cantina.
Oh, perfect. Love it. And what about favorite grocery store?
Metro, for sure.
Okay. Favorite splurge item?
Splurge item, maybe a nice beef tenderloin.
Nice. And if you had to pick one food, what would it be?
Probably cheese. Cheese would be a favorite, any which kind.
Yeah, can't beat that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, moving right along. We'll start with favorite pantry item.
Fermented walrus.
I love it. Favorite restaurant.
I like this little place in Etobicoke called Mama Martino's. It's great Italian
I
food.
think I've heard of that actually. Favorite grocery store.
I like Fortino's.
Okay, me too. And favorite splurge item.
Butter tarts.
Ah.
Very nice. And finally, if you had to choose only one food, what would it be?
Definitely that beluga blubber.
Sounds fantastic.
It's an aphrodisiac.
See, he's
There you
hooked.
go.
Oh my God.
He's converted me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
tasted
much
it.
for coming, and we will see you in a few minutes as you stick around as they're going to judge the 8-minute cook-off. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Hi, welcome back to Community Cooking with Cardinal's High School Cafe, and we're going to do our cook-off right now. So let's introduce our competitors.
I'm Cerise O'Connor. I'm Valentina.
And what grade are you ladies
We're
in?
in grade 10. Yeah, both in grade 10. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we going to be cooking today?
So I'm going to be making a pan-seared chicken breast on top of kale. And I'll be doing a dish inspired by the Three Sisters too.
Okay, fantastic. Shall we get going?
Yeah.
What do you think, Johnny? Are you hungry?
I'm very hungry, so it better be good.
Okay. So tell us what you're doing here. What's our first step?
So I'm going to prep for my chicken breast on my pan. So I'm going to start putting grease on it.
What kind of oil are you using there?
Extra virgin olive.
Okay, nice.
And I'm doing the same.
Now, are you you girls in class together? Is that?
Yeah, we're in hospitality class together.
So are you going to be friends after this? When one of you wins and the other loses, there's like, is this going to be It's gonna be a problem, you think, or is it gonna be okay?
No, it'll be fine.
All right, good. And keep it friendly. So what do we have here?
These are just spices for the chicken breast.
And how long you been cooking?
How long have I been cooking? I just started learning in this class this year. So yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
Oh. So it should be interesting then. This
Yeah.
thing,
You know, where Johnny comes from, in Nunavut, in the Arctic, they generally don't really cook very much. They just eat it raw, don't they? It's
yeah, it's mostly raw. So,
al fresco, right? Right out of the animal.
so we'll catch the animal on the spot and then we'll cut it up and eat it while it's still warm and twitching.
Well, it's twitching, yeah. I like that.
Are you also making chicken?
She's making chicken and I'll be making the soup.
I heard it smells good.
So I'm going to be adding the vegetables now to my soup.
Right.
So I'm going to start with squash.
Okay. What kind of squash is that? Is it a
I
local
actually
squash?
roasted it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's very orange. So cooking something that you might be interested in pursuing after you finish high school, is that the goal for either one of you?
Maybe. Yeah, possibly.
Not just for a grade?
Yeah, with the teacher right in the wings here, you got to say something smart. So. Cooking is a incredible life skill to have. You know?
Yeah, I
I'm always
agree.
feel sorry for people that don't have any notion on how to cook, because I think they're missing out on a lot of great things in life. And frankly, too, if you know how to cook, you don't have to be going out to a restaurant all the time. You can be making it at home. So.
And a home cooked meal any day of the week is way better than this.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so what's happening here now?
So I'm just going to prepare the kale just by putting it on the plate.
Okay. A big part of a meal is the presentation. You know, I'm a teacher myself, so I'm always telling students how important it is to remember sort of the basics around visual communication. And I often talk about cooking, even though we do graphic design, we talk about how important color is, and texture, and all these great things when it comes to presenting food in a really appetizing way. So what's happening with the soup over there, Valentina?
I'm still mixing all of the vegetables together. Yeah. And I'm going to start adding my seasonings for taste as well.
Do you know anything about the Three Sisters soup? What's the story behind that?
I know that the three sisters are like the three agricultural groups in Native America. So it's squash, corn, and beans.
Fantastic.
Looks so good. So I do a lot of training and I try to eat home cooked meal and healthy as much as possible, and that looks like something I would eat.
That's good.
Because I normally didn't eat breakfast until a friend of mine said that after sleeping all hours that evening,
Yeah.
your body needs something to energize again and regenerate your body. So now I do some breakfast once in a while,
Excellent.
just for information. Are you in training?
Training, sorry? For what?
Do you like sports?
No.
No?
I don't do any sports.
You just like eating?
Yeah.
That's all right too. I actually like eating too.
Eating's a handy thing to do occasionally, isn't it? You know? So, when you're cooking that, when are you going to know it's actually done? Is it just by the feel, or how do you?
I judge it by the feel, but as long as the color looks right, and just make sure it just, you know that it's cooked.
Yeah, you got to make sure with cooking chicken it's cooked all the way,
Yeah.
all the way through. What is it, 160 degrees for chicken? Somewhere around there, they say.
He's a technician. Very technical. That
Fantastic.
looks so good.
Now, what are you going to add to that soup as far as the liquid? Do you have
I'll be adding a bit of water as well.
Just water?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a broth or something like
No.
that you have going. It's pretty simple
Yeah.
recipe for that. So do you cook at home now, or do you?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to make at home?
I like making pizza.
Yeah, that is a good thing to make. What about you, Valentina? Do you do any of the chores at home?
I don't really cook at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
You look like you know what you're doing for someone who doesn't cook.
You must be paying attention at school.
Yeah.
Who does the cooking in your house? Charisse, who cooks at your house? Is it?
Everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah. My brother, my sister, everyone.
fantastic. So it's a cooking family you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've got a couple sons, and I try to impress on them how important it is to know how to cook. And they start to realize that if they like a girl and they know how to cook, then that's all they have to do. They can be idiots, and as long as they can cook well, then they have a chance, right? So, all right, that looks fantastic.
So I grew up hunting most of my life, and so everybody in my family cooks too. So I do a lot of hunting on my own, and I have to know how to cook. I like the good cooked meal at minus 60 when I'm out land. You go hunting at minus 60?
No, definitely not.
No?
It almost felt like minus 60 out there today. It was very windy and cold.
With that wind. I drove from Berrien and there's a lot of snow coming down. The traffic was crazy.
All right. So what's happening next? You're gonna put that water and put the soup in, and then we're gonna.
Yeah, I'll be plating as well with kale.
Now, is this your? Did you get a chance to take any hospitality courses or look at the hospitality when you were in grade 9, or was this your first year that you've been studying?
This is my first year.
Well, so you guys are pretty new into this then.
Yeah.
Well, good for you coming out here doing this. That's pretty impressive.
Okay.
Okay, so
Can you help me?
she doesn't want to help you. You know why? Because it's a competition.
Yeah.
She's going to throw yours on the floor or something. Be careful. So that's almost like a stew.
Yeah, it
that
is.
You've made there. It's a lot thicker than a soup.
That's right. It's good.
Okay, so we're going to have to taste this. We've got about a minute to go. Okay, so do we have a knife and some cutlery here?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, Johnny,
All right.
we're going to.
And here's your spoon.
Okay, so the Three Sisters soup first. That's good. You can really taste the squash in there. Excellent. We'll try the chicken breast.
That's nice.
Thank you.
And everything's nicely cooked.
That's excellent too.
Yeah, make them for- yeah, okay.
We're friends here, Johnny. Go ahead. You can use my
All
fork.
right. I just thought because we're on TV that I have to be proper.
It's all about hygiene, right? That's good too. Okay, so we're going to discuss quickly, and we're going to name a winner.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. It was very close because they are both excellent, but I think we're going to go with the Three Sisters soup. So
Okay.
congratulations, Valentina.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Your chicken was fantastic too.
Both great.
Yeah, we're really good. Good job. And for first-time cooks, I'm really impressed. So,
Thank you.
so thanks for watching. This has been our cook-off with community cooking with Cardinal's High School Cafe, and we'll see you next time.